Hey, and welcome to another episode of the Bernie or Bust Show. I'd say that an endorsement from Strong Bad of Homestar Runner would be epic. This is why I think so. Young voters' utter rejection of Pete, embrace of Bernie. Young voters know much more than many people, boomer-style people, would give them credit for.
Well, guys, I didn't think it was possible, but we may have identified a demographic group with even more disdain for Pete than African Americans. So check this out. A new Quinnipiac poll has a deeply revealing breakdown for voters under 35. Crushing the field is Bernie Sanders at 52%. Then comes Warren at 17, Biden at 11, Yang at 7, and way down the list is Mayor Pete at a mere 2% of the vote. Now, in fairness, a number of polls have actually shown him doing worse than 2% with black voters, so maybe I am slightly exaggerating the case. However, it is astounding that the guy running on generational change is apparently loathed by his own generation. Now, of course, as regular Rising viewers, you've known for months now that Pete's strongest support is among boomers, but this poll provides a stunning window into the generational divide that has truly cleaved the party in two. Taken together, the progressive and anti-establishment candidates are garnering a full 79% of the under 35 vote. It's really impossible to overstate just how remarkable that is. Frontrunner Joe Biden, meanwhile, can barely muster double digits with this group. This generational split is the single most pronounced and consistent divide within the Democratic Party. Young people of every race, gender, region, and class are rejecting neoliberalism in overwhelming numbers. And honestly, it makes complete sense. First of all, this generation wasn't molded by the Cold War politics that marked any sort of left-wing radicalism as anti-American and completely out of line. They also weren't scarred by the Democratic losses of the 80s and didn't accept the false learnings of electability by triangulation that were adopted during the Clinton years. Those electability standards are now, of course, rigidly enforced by the entire press corps, regardless of whether they bear any resemblance to reality. But even more than that, think of when this generation came of age. Think of the events which forged us. Many of us were radicalized by the Bush-era neocons, lying us into endless war for oil and profit.
If you tuned out for a second, pay attention to what she's about to say, because this is the powerful truth that would make a strong bad endorsement especially worthy.
Establishment Democrats like Joe Biden and Hillary Clinton carrying their water. Those lucky enough to have the financial wherewithal to go to college thought they were playing by the rules and doing the right thing, only to find themselves crushed with debt. They watched criminal banksters who were supposed to be the smartest of the smart, the best of the best, create fraudulent financial products that were like a ticking time bomb, eventually exploding and nearly destroying the global economy. They watched those same banksters get bailed out, face zero accountability, and even get fat bonuses for the great job they did at decimating the American middle class. This generation watched their pride in our nation's first black president turn to disappointment as he continued the same destructive policies as all the white men who'd come before him, choosing his Wall Street friends over the movement activists who'd backed him. And of course, they watched the Democratic Party put their thumb on the scale for their preferred anointed candidate who was complicit in all of these sins. Is it any wonder that young voters are completely, thoroughly done with anything that smacks as politics of usual? I mean, the most moderate and in the box of young people support Elizabeth Warren. Now, I don't think Elizabeth Warren is
the most moderate and in the box of young people. I know a few of those young people well. Listen up, guys, girls.
Any radical. She's a work within the system progressive. But her desire to actually tax the rich is enough to make billionaires weep openly, so that's certainly a point in her favor. Think of what a shift in the center of gravity in the party it would represent for Warren to be a moderate. Now, conventional wisdom, of course, says young people don't vote, so they don't matter, but conventional wisdom is honestly deeply in need of an update. Millennials and Zoomers don't run everything yet, but their voter turnout has been increasing at historic rates.
Right.
In 2018, for the first time ever, Gen X and younger outvoted Boomer and older. Turnout was up among all generations. I guess one silver lining of Trump is greater voter participation, but the largest jump was among millennials, who doubled their turnout from the previous midterm election back in 2014. 2018 was actually the first midterm for Gen Z, but those numbers were also encouraging. At 30% turnout, they significantly exceeded millennial turnout for every midterm except 2018, so it looks like they are engaging and voting more earlier than previous generations. Now,
I want to call this the strong bad generation.
It may not be this election cycle, although I certainly don't count it out. But there's simply no doubt what direction the Democratic Party is headed, and it's the direction that Bernie Sanders has charted. Now, if you're worried that this future portends gridlock and polarization, first of all, I'd point out that the current model of corporate centrism has resulted in an inability to accomplish anything outside of token cultural signaling. Second, as I believe we demonstrate on this show every day, there may actually be some fertile overlap between the populist left and the populist right. Think about monopoly or tech, corruption, trade as potential starting points. But finally, principle doesn't necessarily equal intransigence. One young man, Peter, a high school senior from the Midwest, expressed this quite eloquently in an award-winning essay about his admiration for Bernie Sanders. He wrote that, quote, Sanders' positions on many difficult issues are commendable, but his real impact has been a reaction to the cynical climate which threatens the effectiveness of the democratic system. His energy, candor, conviction, and ability to bring people together stand against the current of opportunism, moral compromise, and partisanship which runs rampant on the American political scene. Well said, Peter. That precocious young man, of course, was our very own Pete Buttigieg. Even he understands why young people are tired of cynical candidates who, quote, have developed an ability to outgrow their convictions in order to win power, or at least.
That sounds like Mayor Pete to me. So what we need is for Bernie Sanders to go on the Strong Bad show and be interviewed here by Strong Bad himself. This is a pretty good interview, I think. So if Bernie got on this show, I think he'd be treated at least this well. Strong Bad type interview.
Do we yet? Himself. Himself. Good evening, mostly people, and welcome to another night of hard-hitting, Buffalo-style journalism. As we say every show, let's get to the point.
Yeah.
Welcome, Strongbad. Thank you, Strongbad. So, you're dressed like a ship's captain. What, why are you dressed like a ship's captain? I thought that I heard that it was the latest style. Absolutely not the case. So, you're still dressed like a ship's captain. Why is that? Look, I'm telling you. I either saw or read or heard it from the cheat that it's the latest style. So you say.
I think the cheat would really like Bernie Sanders. We should interview the cheat.
The cheat you mentioned. Is he also dressed like a ship's captain? Oh, no way. The cheat's too cool for that. But you don't seem to have that problem. What? No, wait, you turned it all around on me. I'm cool. I have pizzazz. Uh-huh, and the corncob pipe. Oh, that's it. This interview is over.
That's what we need. We need some hard-hitting journalism like that. So let's see if we can get Bernie Sanders on that show. And if not, let's get somebody on that show that would talk about the Bernie or bust revolution. I think Strong Bad would be an awesome Bernie or buster. So this is a formal plea to you, Strong Bad. Please put us on your show, the Bernie or bust types, Victor, Tiffany, or me, and let's have it out. Let's get an endorsement from the cheat of the true progressive in this 2020 presidential race. That's all I got for now. Keep on burning.
Get on board the Bernie or bust train. Come get on board the Bernie or bust train. Once you hear that clickety-clack, there ain't no time for turning back. Go get on board